Hello Capricorn friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my video Capricorn December 2020 Astrology Must Knows. This is the final conclusion to this epic tale of a year that we've had. We also end it on a very historic note with another historic lineup between Jupiter and Saturn. We also have birthdays starting for Capricorn, and we have the time before birthdays, which is also something very noteworthy. So we're going to cover all of this. I've got a nice organized list of the December 2020 must-knows. Before we get to that, I've got 3 points. The first is, this is for you if Capricorn is your sun, moon, or rising sign, or whatever Cap placement you're watching for, okay? It's equally for you, even if it's not your sun. The next thing is that if you are a late degree placement, so if your birthday is towards the end of the sign, okay, or if you're watching for your rising sign, which is towards the end of the, of the sign, I also recommend that you watch my Aquarius report, because I do speak to the late degree differences here. So, and you will have relevance, but a lot of times some things are staggered for those of you who are in the late degree placement, and you will get additional information if you also watch the Aquarius report. Okay, and then especially pay attention when I talk about early Aquarius, because your chart looks more like that. All right, so now on to my little list here. So we've got the first major must know is that it is full steam ahead time, and I know Capricorns will be really happy to hear this because we like to be productive. I have my Venus in Capricorn, I have my midheaven in Capricorn, I have my moon in Capricorn, and so I am there with you that if things are not being productive, it's super annoying, it's not in our wonderful flow that we love, and so you will have your heyday now. It's been a very long awaited time, and now we have a very amazing, noteworthy opening, because not only are we done with the retrogrades of the personal planets, but we also are moving towards, throughout December and into January, we're moving towards having all the planets that we typically look at in the Western chart going direct. And that's unusual when that happens. So when it does happen, it's like a time to take all those things you've been working on and put them out. So you've got amazing launch energy. Mars, getting really rowdy still in Aries, bringing life to things in your chart, definitely home changes, and if you've been trying to work on home projects or buy a home or sell a home or expand or do anything important home related, including start a home-based business, as Mars is getting into that house full speed ahead in Aries, you're really going to start seeing these things move forward. And those aren't the only areas you'll be seeing things move forward, but there's a special energy of that for Capricorns, because that's the location of the chart that Mars, this like get up and go energy, is going to be. A lot of people get really restless when Mars goes in their 4th house, and they think about moving, or they think about traveling, or they think about improving their home. They get really hot on their housing sector and what's that going to look like. So fortunately, this month is a fantastic time to make plans. So December and the first half of January, agreements, contracts, launches, big decisions, moves, all of those things have a massive amount of support during this time. I know that those kind of things are not always convenient during the holidays, and because all these planets are in Sagittarius, it's going to be busy. Very, very, very busy. So it's not always convenient to fit in these launches or these big things in the midst of that, but I promise you that it will be much better off if you try to get it done rather than lollygagging and thinking you're going to do it at the end of January and into February, because then Mercury goes retrograde again then, and you really want to take advantage of this window. Okay, so let's talk about this Sagittarius energy. What does this mean? Sagittarius energy makes an annoying angle to Capricorn placements, and when that happens, it's overstimulating. There's so much going on, and it makes it hard to manage things. Capricorn energies like to have things managed, and when they're not managed, we don't feel very good. And Sag energy is not manageable. It's just very, very unmanageable. So you're just going to have that experience. It will be awkward. It's not the end of the world. Something of a little bit more of a heavier possibility that we have to talk about is when, like right before your birthday or right before the sun moves over whatever sign or planet that you're watching for, so whether it's your moon or sun or rising, before the sun crosses over that point, the weeks before that, which is what we're in now for Capricorn, right, is, as far as like the first several weeks of December, everything rumps and bumps in your 12th house of your unconscious mind. So people start to get very uncomfortable when that happens. Undealt with issues come up, psychological things that, Band-Aids were put on. So you might need to do a little housekeeping in your mental emotional department. And any housekeeping that you do there is going to help you create more brilliantly. A lot of times people will work away the discomfort or, do other things, party away the discomfort that comes at this time of year. And it usually comes every year at this time for Capricorn placements. Instead of doing that, if you do the inner work, Capricorn sometimes will do a lot of outer work to avoid some of the inner work because it's not practical, to spend time doing therapy. It's not practical or productive to, try to rest and recuperate. But that type of thing could be very beneficial to fit in amidst all the busyness at this time. Okay, and so the other thing on the topic is that you will be experiencing the energy of the eclipse in that 12th house as well. It's not just the planets moving through there, right? So this is really important. And even those of you towards the end of the sign for whom this might shift more into the 11th house, we'll talk about what this means in a second, you're still going to feel the energy of the eclipse partly in this 12th house, which means spiritual breakthroughs, psychological breakthroughs. Could also mean breakdowns as a process of breaking through. This is going to be a lot of pressure on you, and you really are going to have to get your sleep, take your supplements and do your inner work. Okay, so it's right, the birthdays. Okay, so when it's birthday time, so for the early degree placements, your birthday is going to happen this month, so happy birthday. And that is a very amazing time for manifesting. If you are a person that is trying to be a co-creator or co-creatrix in creating your reality with divine, then you want to pay attention to astrological power periods. And a source of a lot of my focus for my work is how to use astrological power periods for creating the life of your dreams. And that's actually a big subject of my book, Planetology, which is out and very exciting, which I'll also talk about later. But when you have a birthday, this is the sun in the chart represents your desires. The sun in the sky gets back to the point in your chart where it was when you were born, and it makes a conjunction. It's a portal for wishing. Birthday wishes are astrological, so you want to take advantage of them. And you can search for Making Wishes Come True, Annie. I think if you just put my first name and even not the last name, that video that I made on this topic will come up, and you can understand more how to use your birthday wishes. Okay, so now back to the eclipses. So I've created multiple resources for you to get good coverage for the eclipses. Okay, so you'll want to watch my video called Eclipses in Sagittarius. You can search for Annie Botticelli, Eclipses in Sagittarius, or you can go to my homepage on YouTube and look, I have an eclipse playlist, okay? Eclipses in Sagittarius, everybody's going to have this go on. You want to be up on that. You also want to be up on eclipses in Gemini because there's an eclipse on November 30th, which is going to still carry over in its effects into December. You're going to want to, for all Capricorn placements, look at the eclipses in Pisces and 12th house video, because that's this 12th house that we're talking about. And then for those of you towards the end of the sign, we'll say the last 10 days or so January 11th through the rest of the sign, you'll also want to watch my Eclipses in Aquarius video, because that will tell you those additional pieces that might come up for you people towards the end who are going to have a little split energy here with this manifests. Okay, so those videos are very comprehensive, and they encompass all of the things that I've seen from doing thousands of live readings and hundreds and hundreds of horoscopes over the last 8 years of the things I've seen manifest at eclipse time. That's my compilation, so definitely utilize that resource. Okay, so now the last thing about the eclipse that I want to talk about has to do with the angle that it's making. Okay, so we talked about how the energy of Sagittarius is not a comfortable angle. It doesn't make a good mathematical angle for Capricorn. It's just kind of awkward. So those of you who are in the late degree placement, and this is going to be January 11th through the rest of the sign, but especially around the 11th, 12th, 13th, the closer you are to those dates, the more intense this is going to be. You'll get an exact 30-degree hit if you're in that division, and there could be a little bit more of some awkwardness or something to deal with at the eclipse time. Don't let that be a fear factor. Just know as it's happening, okay, Annie said this might be a little more awkward, but this too shall pass. And you know, you can understand why, if it's hitting you in this tight angle, why it might feel a little bit more intense. And you might have to do a little more work to get to the goals, but working hard is never hard for Capricorn, so that's no big deal. Okay, so now let's blow through our hot date summary here. November 30th through December 5th, we have a string of nice aspects. November 30th is also the Gemini eclipse, and so this is a nice flow of sweet aspects where if you have to do something important, you'll have momentum, you'll have drive, you'll have impetus, you'll have things supporting you to move forward, okay? And that's going to be true for all of December into the first half of January, but there's just a nice string of aspects in this period of time that is uninterrupted by the mischief that kind of, you know, tinkers in throughout the rest of the month. Then December 14th, we have that eclipse. Of course, you can feel the eclipse 4 to 6 or more weeks before. You might be October and you might be having whispers of what's going to happen with this eclipse, okay, or events. So, and after as well. But that's the date that it actually happens. Now, when planets hit the point that the eclipse occurred at, it brings in more information about the eclipse news. So on December 18th, Mercury will cross that ecliptic point, and then the 25th and 26th, Mars will pass through that point. So just note on those days you might have some follow-up things about the eclipse that will show up. December 24th through the 27th, there is this nice double nice aspect. Okay, the 24th and the 27th, Mercury and then the Sun will make the most fabulous aspect in all of astrology, the trine with Uranus. And Uranus rules surprises and insights and things out of the blue. But this is in a nice angle. So the odds that you'll have like a nice sweet surprise that could also lead to some permanent things. These are Earth trines. Whenever we have Earth trines, it makes it more likely that this is going to lock something in long term. And this is especially helpful and nice for Capricorns because Mercury and then the Sun are going to be in Capricorn. Okay, so, and this is going to happen in the early degree placement. So every Capricorn can get, and actually everyone in the zodiac can get a boost from these placements. But those of you who are in the early degree placement, you all are going to have more chance for sweetness with this. Then the last thing we have to talk about is the December 29th full moon at 9 degrees of Cancer, okay? Fullness, completion, fruition, drama may come to home, family, real estate, house projects, home from work project, work at home projects, anything like that. It could be super sweet where you have a nice time with your family, or it could be something dramatic that comes up and you have to deal with. So I always say try to leave a little space around the eclipses, around the full moons, just so you can kind of show up for whatever comes your way. Now, again, this is of special importance for Capricorn placements because this is in your opposing sign. Okay, so those of you, the closer to 9 degrees, okay, so that's like the last few days of December, the first couple of days of January. The closer you are to that point, the more intense this is going to be because you'll get a full opposition. Sometimes this is strife and conflict, right? We'll be honest that it does manifest that way sometimes. But sometimes it's great, like your work is taking off and now you have a conflict between family and work because you want to do holiday stuff with your family, but your work is blowing up and now you're torn between two places. And so it's going to be kind of intense because you have to get all this stuff done, you know? So it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just usually overwhelming and overstimulating, but do be prepared just to kind of have your rest and, you know, need to have some focus. But I want to focus now on this topic of if Jupiter, the great expander, is moving through Aquarius and it's moving through a certain section of your chart, then what happens when Saturn, the cruncher, the restrictor, the limiter, is also moving through? So the first must know with that is that, yes, Saturn can run a little interference as far as what Jupiter is trying to do. But in this particular sign of Aquarius, I'm not seeing that as much of a troublemaker as it was in Capricorn, because Jupiter is super happy in Aquarius. And when Jupiter is moving through a sign that it's happy in, it can get really carried away. Okay, Jupiter rules excess. And I know a lot about this. I have an astrologer friend who calls me a one-woman Jupiter transit because I have so many placements of Sagittarius in my chart that like the epitome of all of the energy of Jupiter in myself, my expression, and my life is like very Jupiterian, okay? It can be extremely excessive to a fault, to where it burns itself out, to where it turns into something not great, okay? And so I see Saturn kind of hanging out there as like a little babysitter. It's like saying, okay, I see you're happy and you're rambunctious with your new toy of being in a sign that it likes. Here, let's just kind of make that more sustainable, make that more effective, make that more responsible, and have that be more of like a constructive accomplishment. You can also kind of think of this energy like a prescribed burn, when they're trying to clear out some underbrush to protect from wildfire issues in the future. A prescribed burn allows a burn to only get so far so that it can be productive, and then it just cuts it off. So I see this as kind of like a little guardian protector in this case. And so that's exciting. Now, something else to know about this is that Jupiter and Saturn are only in close proximity in the sign of Aquarius for like, December and January. Then after that, Jupiter just rolls out and leaves Saturn, the old guy, in the dust. It's like, he's like, okay, father time, I'm going to be on with this. And it just kind of races through Aquarius. And then when it does retrograde, it still stays at the later degrees of Aquarius. So it's not going to come back in the very close proximity that we're seeing here in the December-January timeframe. So the most hindrance and the most challenged points of them coming together we're likely to see in the December-January timeframe, but hopefully that will soften over time. And then just kind of see them as like working in cooperation as they're moving through the different areas of your chart, which again, this is going to kind of be staggered. So I'm not that concerned about a lot of negative effects of it. I'm more interested in how there are likely to be positive and supportive effects for the reasons that I mentioned. Okay, so there were two other things I wanted to mention about this. The conjunction that Jupiter and Saturn makes is at 0 degrees. It's right at the beginning of Aquarius. And at that time, we have the planet Pallas Athena right there. And Juno is right there in a 60-degree angle, which is a super positive angle. Okay, so this is speaking to the feminine principle coming into play here in a more notable way. And this is kind of a way of the future. The future is going to have more of this feminine masculine balance. And notice that I'm not saying male or female. It transcends the gender distinction. It's the energy of feminine and masculine within ourselves. It's the energy of feminine and masculine within the society, within the systems. It's just adding more of that balance. So with these two ladies here, kind of supporting this connection, I think it's going to speak to a really nice balance that can also hopefully offset some of the challenge points. And we are in for another wild ride in 2021, I'll be honest with you, but I think the types of changes that will come from the outer planets coming together are more progressive and more have to do with the fact that change is coming and there will be resistance to the change, and that some of the changes that are suggested are not necessarily the best ones, and kind of finding the balance. That's going to be the story of 2021. So if you'd like to have more information about how astrology can help you and how your awareness of the transits can be supportive to everything that you're working on, I have lots of free resources. The free resources are also linked with hyperlinks in the notes below the video. If you click on the more button and the arrow, it's down there. But the first thing to know is you definitely want to go to anniehelpsyou.com, peruse my blog, especially my astrology blog if you're interested in astrology, and sign up for my free email newsletter. That is a definite must do, because that will give you, I don't send out very many emails and they're all very content rich with things that I've created to help you. I don't send out random emails. I send out about 3, no more than 4 emails a month. And they all have, again, links to things that will help you that I've created or that some other people are posting on my blog. So the next thing to note is that you get Shine, my 28-day virtual coaching program, for free when you sign up for my email newsletter. Okay, the second resource is go to lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. That's my school, Luminous Life Multiversity. And this school has some free classes, including a course called Unleash Your Money Magnet and a couple of wellness classes, including one called Claiming Victory Over Viruses. And then there are also paid courses. Most of my offerings are free, but I do have some paid courses that keep everything going. And one of them is a course called Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course. If you resonate with how I teach and you want to learn, I can help you to do that. My course is so crazy comprehensive. If you think I go into details in the videos and my other resources, you'll be blown away by the amount of magic that you have at your fingertips, whether it's for your personal pursuits and you don't want to do astrology professionally, or for your professional pursuits. The next thing is at cozybysweetstarlight.com. You will see my written horoscopes, which are much more simple and easier to follow. They're less technical. Also a month, I post my videos for the horoscopes 4 to 6 weeks early, and I post my written horoscopes at least a month early. So you'll see those at cozybysweetstarlight.com, plus an ever-growing list of astrology-kissed blogs, ways that you can utilize your knowledge of the stars and syncing up with the natural rhythms. And speaking of syncing up with the natural rhythms of the universe, definitely get my book, Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. You can get it on Kindle, you can get it on Audible, you can get it in print, and I suggest Audible one might not be out till like the end of, maybe the beginning to end of November. But you can get the print edition ordered now, and I suggest you get Audible and print because it's a long book and you'll want Audible for that. And it's a reference book, a beautiful hardcover reference book, so you'll want that too. Okay, so you can see it on Amazon, you can see it at any major bookseller. Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month.